I want to talk to you today about one small habit, just one powerful shift that can change the entire direction of your life. You see, so often we're praying for strength, asking God to help us stay focused, to overcome procrastination, to be more disciplined. But what if I told you that God has already placed the answer inside of you? What if the breakthrough you're looking for doesn't come through a massive change overnight, but through one simple decision you make every single day? You may feel stuck right now, like you've tried to stay consistent but keep falling off track. Maybe you start strong but lose steam along the way. Let me encourage you, you're not broken. You're not weak. You're not missing anything. You've just been missing the habit that activates the discipline God already placed in your spirit. The habit I'm going to share with you today is like a divine switch. It flips on the power, the clarity, the courage you've had in you all along. You were created for greatness. You were designed to move forward, not stay stuck. And when you embrace this one daily habit, you'll begin to see chains break, doors open, and momentum build like never before. You'll go from I can't to I will, and from I will to I already am. Because with God's help and your discipline aligned with His purpose, it's easy to overlook the power of the small things. We're often waiting for a big break, a sudden miracle, or a burst of motivation that will finally help us become more disciplined, more productive, more consistent. But what if the real transformation begins not with something huge, but with something simple? You don't have to move mountains overnight. You don't have to fix everything all at once. All you need to do is make one small choice today, and then make it again tomorrow. That's how discipline is built, not in a dramatic moment, but in the quiet, steady commitment to doing what you said you would do, even when it doesn't feel exciting. Small daily actions may not feel like much at first, but over time they begin to create momentum. They begin to rewire your brain. Every time you choose to follow through with a promise to yourself, you're building a new identity, a new mindset. You're teaching your mind that you're someone who shows up, someone who follows through, someone who doesn't quit just because it's uncomfortable. When you get up 5 minutes earlier to pray or meditate, when you choose to stretch instead of scrolling through your phone, when you write one sentence in that journal, even when your mind says it won't matter, you're planting seeds, seeds of discipline, seeds of confidence, seeds of breakthrough. The results might not be immediate, but the change is already happening inside of you. It's like exercising a muscle. The first few reps might feel awkward, weak, even discouraging. But if you stay with it, you get stronger. And just like physical strength, mental discipline grows with repetition. What starts as effort becomes habit, and what becomes habit eventually becomes identity. You see, God designed our brains with an amazing gift, neuroplasticity. That means your mind can change. Your habits can shift. Your routines are not permanent, and neither are your limitations. But that rewiring doesn't happen in an instant. It happens through small, repeated acts. That's why Scripture says not to despise small beginnings. God uses the little things to prepare us for the big things. The daily decision to show up and do the work, especially when no one is watching, is what lays the foundation for unstoppable discipline. Because it's not the size of the action that changes your life, it's the consistency of it. One small good habit, repeated faithfully, is more powerful than 100 big plans you never act on. Sometimes we're so focused on trying the leap to find the perfect routine or system that we miss the opportunity that's right in front of us. And that opportunity is to be faithful with the little. It may feel small, it may feel insignificant, but your brain is always paying attention. Every time you complete a task you didn't want to do, every time you keep a small promise to yourself, your brain is building a new pathway, a new way of thinking, a new way of living. You're teaching yourself to trust yourself again. And that's where real change begins, not with information, but with action. And not with big action, but with small daily action. Discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about being faithful. It's about making that one choice in the morning when your bed feels comfortable, but your goals are calling. It's about making the right decision once and then making it again. It's about saying yes to your purpose in the little things, because the little things lead to the big things. When you choose to honor the small commitments, when you stay faithful in the ordinary moments, you're setting yourself up for extraordinary growth. The world may not notice at first, and that's okay. These moments are between you and the future you're building. They're between you and the discipline you're cultivating. And ultimately, they're between you and the calling God has placed on your life. What happens is you stop depending on motivation and you start depending on systems. You stop trying to feel inspired every day and you start showing up regardless of how you feel. That's the power of small daily action. You're no longer a slave to your emotions, to your distractions, or to your excuses. You become the kind of person who does what needs to be done, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. And that identity, that belief that you are someone who follows through, becomes the foundation of a life of unstoppable discipline. You may have started with a single habit, but that habit becomes a spark that ignites your entire routine, your thinking, your destiny. We live in a world that celebrates intensity. We're drawn to big transformations, massive wins, grand gestures of change. But the truth is, it's not the intense bursts of action that sustain us, it's the quiet, steady rhythm of showing up day after day. Discipline isn't forged in the fires of a single strong moment, it's built in the furnace of repetition. Consistency may not be glamorous, it may not grab attention, but it is the true secret behind lasting change. Anyone can be intense for a day. Anyone can push hard for a week. But it's the one who learns to be faithful, who learns to persist, who builds a life of resilience through consistency that ultimately reaps the reward. You don't have to do everything today. You don't need to fix everything by tonight. You just need to do the next right thing. You need to take the next step. You need to keep moving forward even when the path feels slow. That's what separates those who succeed from those who stop. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not even intelligence. It's the willingness to keep going. The habit of choosing progress over perfection. The mindset that values small gains repeated daily over occasional intense sprints that leave you burnt out. Every time you choose consistency, you're choosing growth, you're choosing maturity. You're choosing to become the kind of person who doesn't rely on feeling good to do what's good. God doesn't require you to be extreme. He just asks you to be faithful. He blesses the person who keeps showing up, even when it's hard. That morning you woke up tired but still prayed. That day you didn't feel like working out but still moved your body. That moment you wanted to give up but chose to take one more step. These may seem like little things, but they matter more than you think. They add up. They accumulate. They begin to shape your identity. They reinforce the truth that you are someone who doesn't quit, that you are someone who can be counted on, that you are someone who walks in purpose, not in convenience. It's easy to be excited at the beginning of a journey. Motivation runs high, goals feel fresh, and we see the future with clarity. But what happens when the excitement fades? What do you do when it's day 15 and nothing feels different? That's when consistency takes over. That's when real discipline is formed. Not when you feel strong, but when you feel weak and choose to keep going anyway. That's the moment where your decision carries more weight than your emotion. You're not waiting to feel inspired, you're choosing to be committed. That kind of mindset is rare, and that's why it's powerful. Because when you make consistency your habit, you're no longer ruled by your highs or your lows. You become anchored, steady, focused. Think about water dripping on a stone. One drop may not do much. 10 drops won't make a difference. But over time, the consistent pressure of those drops begins to carve through solid rock. That's what your daily habits do to your mind. They begin to carve new pathways. They create new thinking patterns. They build new responses. What once felt hard becomes natural. What once seemed impossible becomes part of your lifestyle. And it all started because you kept going. Not because you did everything perfectly, but because you refused to stop. There's something incredibly powerful about the person who decides they will show up no matter what. That kind of discipline doesn't depend on conditions. It doesn't rise and fall with circumstances. It is steady, and that steadiness becomes your strength. You begin to trust yourself more. You start to see results, not just externally, but internally. You gain confidence not because you had one great day, but because you've strung together enough good days that your belief in yourself starts to shift. And that internal shift is what makes the external change possible. The world may applaud talent, charisma, or performance, but heaven celebrates consistency. Heaven celebrates faithfulness, the quiet moments of integrity, the private disciplines no one sees, the unnoticed decisions that align with your values and your calling. That's what sets you apart. That's what builds a life that doesn't crumble when the storms come. Because when your life is built on consistency, your foundation is strong. You're not shaken by setbacks. You're not derailed by delays. You've trained yourself to stay the course. You've practiced showing up. You've made it a habit to do the work, not once in a while, but every single day, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when no one else is watching. That's where the real strength is formed. That's how unstoppable discipline is born. Your brain is not fixed. It's not locked into the patterns and habits you've had for years. Science shows us something powerful. Your brain is always changing, always adapting, always responding to what you do repeatedly. What you rehearse, you reinforce. What you repeat, you rewire. And what you consistently focus on, you eventually become. It's not your intentions that change your brain, it's your repetitions. You might have great goals, strong desires, and inspiring dreams, but until those desires become daily habits, they won't transform your thinking. That's why it's so important to understand that every time you repeat a behavior, you're casting a vote for the person you are becoming. Every single time you choose to act in alignment with discipline, you're strengthening the neural pathways that support that behavior. The brain learns by doing. It doesn't grow by wishing or hoping. It responds to structure. It responds to rhythm. The more often you perform a certain action, whether it's writing, praying, exercising, or even just making your bed, the more your brain wires itself to support that behavior. At first, it feels unnatural, uncomfortable, even forced. But the more you do it, the more automatic it becomes. That's not a sign that it's getting easier. That's a sign that your brain is adapting. It's being trained to support the version of you who lives with intention and purpose. Too often people wait for motivation to strike before they act. But motivation is inconsistent. It comes and goes. What you need is something more reliable. What you need is to train your brain to follow through, even when the feelings aren't there. That's where repetition comes in. When you do something consistently, you teach your brain that this action matters. You signal that this behavior is part of who you are. Eventually, it takes less effort. You don't have to negotiate with yourself anymore. You just do it because it's now a part of your wiring. This is the gift God has placed inside each of us, the ability to renew our minds. Romans says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That word renewing isn't a one-time event. It's a continual process. It's something you do daily, not yearly. And the way you renew your mind is by doing things over and over until they become second nature. Repetition isn't boring when you understand that it's building something. It's not pointless when you know it's rewiring your brain for strength. Every repetition is a brick laid in the foundation of a stronger, more disciplined version of you. You have the power to rewire your brain by the habits you commit to. If you repeat avoidance, you strengthen anxiety. If you repeat quitting, you strengthen doubt. But if you repeat discipline, if you repeat follow through, if you repeat positive, filled action, you build courage, confidence, and consistency. And once your brain begins to support these behaviors, the effort decreases while the results increase. That's the compound effect of habit. That's the science behind why a small change, done consistently, leads to unstoppable momentum. You don't need to change everything overnight. You just need to choose one action that aligns with your highest values and repeat it until it becomes part of who you are. You need to take that one habit and stick with it, not because it's flashy, not because it makes you feel good instantly, but because it's changing your brain in ways you can't even see yet. Think of your brain like a path through the forest. The first time you walk through, it's rough. You're pushing through branches, stepping over roots, unsure of where you're going. But if you walk that same path every day, eventually it becomes clear, worn, and easy to follow. That's what happens with repeated behavior. You create a mental path so strong that it becomes the default. You don't need more intensity, you need more frequency. It's not about doing a lot once, it's about doing a little often. Your future is not shaped by your occasional bursts of effort, but by your consistent rhythms of obedience. The discipline you're looking for is already within you. It's just waiting for you to unlock it through repetition. Every time you resist the urge to give up and choose to stay consistent, you're rewiring your brain. You're breaking old patterns. You're forming new ones. You're making it easier for the future version of you to succeed. And what once felt impossible begins to feel natural, not because life got easier, but because your brain got stronger. Discipline often feels like something reserved for the elite, the athletes, the top performers, the highly organized. But the truth is, discipline isn't a gift that some people are born with and others are not. It's not a personality trait. It's not based on your upbringing, your energy level, or even your natural talents. Discipline is a decision. It's a choice. And more than that, it's a choice you make over and over again, one day at a time. You don't have to feel ready to be disciplined. You don't need the perfect plan. What you need is to wake up and say, today I will choose to show up for myself. Today I will choose to follow through. Today I will honor the commitments I've made, even if no one else sees them, even if I don't feel like it, even if it's inconvenient. Every day you are given countless opportunities to choose discipline. It's there in the moment you hear your alarm and decide whether to snooze or get up. It's there when you see your to-do list and choose whether to tackle the task or avoid it. It's there when you feel tired and unmotivated and you choose to keep going anyway. The decision to be disciplined is not made once and then sealed forever. It's made repeatedly in the small moments, in the unseen spaces of your daily routine. That's why discipline has nothing to do with being perfect. You're going to have off days. You'll make mistakes. You'll feel like quitting. But what defines a disciplined person isn't the absence of it, it's the ability to rise again and make the choice once more. We often wait for the feeling of discipline to arrive before we act, but that's backwards. Feelings follow actions. You act disciplined, and over time you begin to feel more disciplined. You lead with the decision, not the emotion. You act your way into belief. And as you make that choice daily, your confidence begins to grow. You start seeing yourself differently. You begin to think, I'm not someone who tries, I'm someone who follows through. That shift in identity is what creates lasting change. When you understand that discipline is a decision you have control over, you're no longer a victim of your past habits or your current emotions. You take back your power. You reclaim your time, your energy, your focus. You become the one who decides what kind of life you will live, not based on what happens to you, but on how you choose to respond. God has already placed everything you need inside of you to live with discipline. You have the strength, the resilience, the clarity. You just need to activate it. And the way you activate it is by deciding, not once but daily, not in grand declarations, but in simple acts. Choosing to wake up and give your best. Choosing to ignore distractions. Choosing to stick with it even when results are slow. These choices, though small in the moment, begin to carry weight. They become habits. And those habits become the foundation for your character. Over time, you're no longer fighting to be disciplined. You are disciplined because you've made it your identity. This is why people with massive talent can still fall short, while people with average skills but unwavering discipline can rise to greatness. Because talent is the starting point, but discipline is what carries you across the finish line. It's not the smartest person who always wins, it's the most consistent, the most committed, the one who refuses to give up just because it's hard. And every time you make that choice, you're reinforcing your strength. You're training your brain to follow your decisions, not your moods. That's what separates those who live by vision from those who live by impulse. Your life is built by the choices you make every day. Discipline isn't a mysterious force out of reach. It's in your hands. It's in your voice. It's in your will. Every time you say no to temptation, every time you say yes to responsibility, you're choosing discipline. And that decision builds something inside of you. It builds endurance. It builds courage. It builds momentum. You begin to move differently, think differently, respond differently. You're no longer reacting to life, you're leading it. Not because everything is easy or perfect, but because you've decided who you want to be and you've chosen to act in alignment with that decision day after day. The words you speak have power. They carry weight not just in the world around you, but in the atmosphere within you. The way you talk to yourself at the beginning of the day can either lift you into purpose or sink you into defeat. Before the first task, before the first distraction, before the first challenge shows up, you have a chance to speak life over your routine. You have the opportunity to set the tone by declaring who you are, what you stand for, and what you will accomplish. And when you speak victory over your day before it even begins, you're planting the seed for discipline to grow. You are saying, I will lead this day. I will not be ruled by how I feel. I will not let circumstances dictate my consistency. Discipline starts in your words. If your inner dialogue is always negative, always critical, always doubtful, your actions will eventually follow suit. But when you start to speak in alignment with your purpose, when you say things like, I am focused, I am consistent, I do hard things, I keep my word, you're building a foundation that supports your follow through. This isn't about pretending things are perfect. It's about aligning your voice with your vision. Because every great athlete, every strong leader, every resilient believer begins their day with a mindset that's been shaped by intention. They don't just walk into the day hoping it goes well, they speak over it. They command it. They take authority over the distractions, the delays, and the discouragements before they even show up. When you open your eyes in the morning, you're not just waking up physically, you're waking up spiritually and mentally. And in that moment, your words matter. You can say, this is too hard, or you can say, I'm built for this. You can say, I don't feel motivated, or you can say, I don't need motivation to be consistent. That small shift in language creates a massive shift in identity. Because what you say repeatedly becomes what you believe. And what you believe becomes how you behave. So if you want to rewire your brain for discipline, don't just look at your habits, look at your words. Look at what you're declaring. Look at what you're repeating. Because those affirmations are not just ideas, they are instructions. They are blueprints. They are training your mind to either shrink back or step forward. Scripture says that life and death are in the power of the tongue. That means every word you speak is either fueling your discipline or feeding your doubt. And when you begin your day by speaking victory over your actions, your mind gets in sync with your mission. You're not walking into the day reacting to whatever comes. You're walking in prepared, empowered, and focused. You've already claimed your ground. You've already declared your position. That's what disciplined people do. They don't wait to see how the day feels. They choose how the day begins. This practice becomes even more powerful in the days when you don't feel strong. When your body is tired, when your mind is cluttered, when your emotions are heavy, those are the days when your words matter the most. Because it's easy to speak victory when everything's going well. But when you can speak strength while you're in weakness, when you can speak focus in the middle of distraction, when you can declare consistency when you feel like quitting, that's when something deep is being built inside of you. That's when discipline becomes more than a habit. It becomes a way of life. It becomes your language. It becomes your atmosphere. Every time you speak victory, you're creating alignment between your intention and your action. And over time, that alignment leads to transformation. You stop seeing yourself as someone who's trying to be disciplined, and you start seeing yourself as someone who is disciplined. Not because everything is easy, but because you've learned how to lead your day with your words. You've taken control of your internal environment, and that internal shift changes everything. When your thoughts line up with your speech and your speech lines up with your action, you become unstoppable. This isn't about hype or empty motivation. This is about authority. You have the authority to speak into your life, to command focus, to speak favor, to declare discipline. And when you speak it long enough, consistently enough, boldly enough, you begin to believe it even on the hardest days. You begin to act on it even when everything around you says stop. That's the real power of speaking victory. It anchors you in purpose when everything else is shifting. It gives you a weapon against doubt. It builds resilience from the inside out. And it turns your words into action, your action into rhythm, and your rhythm into a lifestyle marked by focus, intention, and discipline. There is a quiet, often overlooked truth about discipline. It is born in private. The most powerful habits are not formed in front of a crowd, not under bright lights, and not when everyone is watching. They are built in the secret, silent moments when no one else is paying attention. True discipline is not about impressing others. It's about becoming someone you can trust when no one is around. When you make a promise to yourself and keep it, even when there's no recognition, no applause, no immediate reward, that's where your character is forged. That's where your strength is shaped. It's in those early mornings, those late nights, those late afternoons where you choose consistency, not because you have to, but because it aligns with who you are becoming. You don't need an audience to grow. In fact, some of your deepest growth will happen when you're in the shadows. When you're showing up again and again for your goals, your faith, your health, your calling without any outside validation. Those moments are sacred because they reveal your real motives. They test your integrity. Are you doing this just to be seen? Or are you doing it because you're committed to the process? Are you disciplined because of external pressure or because you've decided that you are worth the effort? When you choose to do the right thing without needing a witness, that's where transformation begins. That's how you build a life that is unshakable. The world loves to measure success by what's visible: results, outcomes, recognition. But discipline is often invisible. It's found in the decision to stick to your routine when the excitement has faded. It's in the choice to finish what you started when the feelings have worn off. It's in the act of taking care of your body, guarding your thoughts, managing your time, not for show, but because you know the cost of inconsistency. There's nothing flashy about that, but that's the foundation everything else is built on. That's the invisible strength that supports visible victories. God is watching what no one else sees. He sees your faithfulness in the small things. He sees your obedience in the quiet places. He sees the way you keep showing up, even when no one claps for you, even when you feel overlooked. And He promises that what is done in secret will be rewarded in the open. The habits you build in silence will open doors you never imagined. The self-control you develop when no one is checking on you will prepare you for moments when everyone is watching. Because if you can be trusted in the dark, you can be trusted in the light. This is why it's so important to build a private routine that is sacred to you. You don't need to post about it. You don't need to prove it, but you do need to protect it. Create a rhythm that anchors you. Whether it's prayer, journaling, exercise, planning your day, whatever aligns with your goals and values, do it with excellence. Not for validation, but because it's part of your foundation. And once that foundation is strong, you won't be easily shaken. You'll have a reserve of discipline to draw from when life gets loud, chaotic, or overwhelming. So many people are chasing motivation when what they really need is devotion. Motivation fades, emotion fluctuates. But devotion, quiet, committed, personal devotion, that's what carries you through the valleys. That's what keeps you grounded when the applause dies down or the challenges ramp up. Your private devotion becomes your public strength. Your unseen choices become your unbreakable habits. Your consistent inner life shapes your external world. Every time you follow through in private, you're telling yourself, I am reliable. I do what I say I'll do. I don't need to be seen to be strong. That kind of self-trust cannot be bought. It must be earned through repetition, through integrity, through those early mornings and late nights when quitting would be easier, but you choose the harder road. And that road builds something in you that's rare, something that can't be faked, something that can't be taken away. When you value your private disciplines, you no longer rely on outside forces to hold you accountable. You become your own leader. You become the kind of person who brings excellence into every space, not because others demand it, but because you demand it of yourself. And when you live that way, rooted in unseen faithfulness, anchored in personal excellence, committed to quiet discipline, you become unstoppable. You don't have to chase success, you attract it. Because you've already become the kind of person who's ready for it.